How many times you were born? Oh, he was born. Well, that's true. That's true. Definitely, if you have the skills of multilinguist, that's something you should definitely show. And as a reader, I would look for that too. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
I would like to hear motivation.
Motivation to do what?
To study.
To study, to grow, to learn. Yes, absolutely. That's something I'll look for too. Any more? Your last chance. Creativity. Very, very important. Creativity. That's one of the most important, I think. Goes hand in hand with originality. Yes.
Something close to life. It's like a life story.
Impressive. I agree. In fact, that's a wonderful segue, I think, to the next slide. Oh, wait, well, let me tell you what my answers are. We'll see how many of them we have. So, honesty. Did we come up with? We didn't have honesty, did we? But honesty is important. Yeah. Honesty is important. Originality we had. Concise, meaning what?
Not too large?
Yeah. So you get to the point quickly. You explain yourself and you finish, right? Interesting we had revealing. I think a lot of us kind of touched on revealing a bit, that it shows what kind of student you're going to be, shows what kind of person you are, reveals your motivation, etc. But definitely not a list of academic achievements. Do not talk about how wonderful a student you are. It's a guarantee to put the person to sleep. Okay? Because I can guarantee you, everyone else is going to do that. And you want to be different. Right? That's the goal, is to be different. Right? Out of the 1,000 that he reads, you want him to remember, or her, to remember yours. So make it different. Okay?
So how is it possible to see how honest this letter?
Well, I think that the person who is the experienced reader can tell when someone is being honest. And when I say honest, I don't necessarily mean don't lie. I mean show, because I don't have to tell you don't lie, but a certain amount of honesty about oneself. In other words, if I know that I have some shortcomings, and I am willing to share those shortcomings on my essay and explain how I overcome those shortcomings, that's a sign of honesty. That's what I mean. Okay, so when doing this, if we're not going to talk about our academic achievements, and we're going to be honest and we're going to be revealing, then don't be afraid to reveal weaknesses. If you have problems of some sort academically, don't be afraid to reveal them, because if you were the perfect student and you knew everything already, you wouldn't need to go to college, right? Okay? Share learning experiences and mistakes that you have made. Okay? Admit that you may have some shortcomings. We are not all perfect. We are not all perfect. And the only person who can strive for perfection is the person who first admits that he's not perfect and has maybe some shortcomings, or has had some problems, or has had to experience some failures. Okay? Don't be afraid to reveal this. This is very, very important stuff. Okay? But in addition, show how you learn from this experience. You know, if you had problems in school with one assignment or with one teacher, or even if you had some kind of a family issue or some kind of professional issue that was embarrassing, or where you failed at something you were trying to do, explain it, but also explain what you learned from it. You know, how you grew as a result of it. This says a lot about what kind of student that you're going to be. Right? And you're not just going to be a student at the university, you're going to be a member of their student body, like a member of their population. You're not just going to go to class, you're going to participate in social events, you're going to be the face of the university to your family and your friends. So they need to know more about you than just your marks. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's see. So, how to do this? Here's my advice. Write a story about yourself. Simple as that. Simple as that. Write a story about yourself. Something that happened to you. A serious problem you face at home or school. It can be academic, or it can be even social or personal. Doesn't matter. A time when you learned something about yourself. An embarrassing experience that made you a better person. a time you failed at something you worked very hard for. This is really good stuff. If you can be honest about things like this, and you can share this information, and you can write how you learned from it, how it made you a better person, how it made you a better student, or a better brother, or a better mother. This will say an awful lot about you, what kind of student you're going to be. Okay? And it will make your essay stand out amongst all the others that are just talking about their grades and how many Olympiads they won, etc., etc., etc. Boring, boring, boring. Right? Okay. I'm not, Olympiads are great, but you know what I mean. Okay. So, things to remember before we're going to actually do some work here. There's no predefined structure. Okay, this may be, I don't know, you may be glad to hear this, or you may not be glad to hear this, but we all know that the American essay tends to have a very strict structure with a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? But for the personal statements, there really isn't so much of a structure. So feel free to express yourself however you wish as far as the organization of your essay, but keep in mind that you should be brief, you should be clear, and you should be honest and sincere. If you do these three things, you're okay. All right? Think about who's going to read it. Everything that we write, at least it should be this way, everything that we write will be read by somebody. Unless it's a journal or some poetry that we don't like to show, that kind of thing. But in general, everything that we write is going to be read by somebody, so we have to imagine who that person is. What is that person looking for? And this isn't true just for an essay like this, for everything that we write. We're writing for a purpose. And we always have to remember who our audience is, and keep in mind who we want to read this, what kind of an effect we want this to have. And if we know that this person is probably going to be an experienced academic who has read thousands of essays, and who is going to choose whether or not I get to go to this university, well, that will change the way that you attack this problem. It will make you try and be more creative, be more original, and try and stand out a little bit, as I said. How we handle failure, and I believe this honestly. This is, if you can talk about how you dealt with failure, it reveals more about your character than something about how you dealt with success. It's much more difficult to be a loser than a winner. Am I right? Being a winner is easy. Everybody congratulates you, everybody's smiling all the time, your parents are proud of you, your teacher talks about you to her colleagues. But being a failure is very, very difficult. And how we deal with failure reveals a lot about who we are. And the person and we are all going to fail. Everybody in this room has failed at something very important to them at one point in their lives. I know I have. More times than I like to admit. But the way that we handle ourselves, the way that we behave in this situation really says a lot about us. So I would seriously try and think of focusing on something like that. We all know that English is a utilitarian language. I like to think of it as a utilitarian language, at least written English. And so use short words, use simple sentences. It's pretty basic. Pretty basic. I don't really know why. That's just the way that we like it. If you can say more with less, do it. That's the way that academic English is considered best. Okay? Say more with less. Short paragraphs are easier to read. Like I have here my notes here, or actually it's the back side of your worksheet. See how it's divided into different paragraphs? Imagine if it were just one big paragraph. Think about trying to read that if it were just one long paragraph with no spaces. So divide it up into paragraphs. Divide it up into short paragraphs. I think that this one